I'm a little bit nervous about today's vlog. It's not the type of content that I wanted to spend a whole lot of time preparing. So we're hoping that it's valuable just kind of based upon its truth and not from a whole lot of editing or entertainment. This is a somber time of year for us because it was this time of the year 5 years ago that we lost what would have been our sixth
kid
child. And it was actually on Cammie's birthday, which we celebrated last week, but it was actually on her birthday 5 years ago that we found out the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And it just threw us in this whirlwind of, I don't know if it's confusion or just like being startled, like we had never had this happen. We were more than halfway through the pregnancy, so we were like expecting everything to be okay. Then we entered into this 3 or 4 week period where Cammie was pregnant. We knew the baby wasn't alive, but she hadn't given birth yet because we kind of opted not to unnecessarily intervene, medically speaking. So it was like this crazy time period where we're asking these questions. Are we doing the right thing? Trying to sort out life and death and
not really knowing what's gonna happen. Like, I remember feeling like anxious about my body and wanting it to take its natural course, but not knowing when that was gonna be or what it was gonna be like.
And the baby was born about a block and a half from here. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment at the time. And I'm gonna post a link to a video where we go much more in depth into that story because there's some really miraculous things about that story. But let's bring it to date. So 5 years have passed and we went to my friend Eric's farm this Sunday for Easter, which has been our Easter tradition. And that's where he's buried. So there's this moment where we like finish, you know, like the Easter celebration, there's like a brunch, and then it's like, all right, it's time to like walk up the hill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that experience, it just is a lot of reminders that are true about life, but are really hard to face. Like that some people don't even get to live before they're born, which is like, shouldn't be, you know. There's something really wrong and really sad about that. And death in general, just there's something that in our very beings we're like, man, that's just not right, you know.
So we walked up this hill together as a family, and the first thing that struck me about this experience was everyone just knew what to do. I'm kind of at a loss, and I don't feel like I'm at a loss a lot. I mean, you put me on a marathon course, put me on the side of a mountain. Here, I'm like, I don't know what to say or do. You know, we get to this gravesite, and it's like, you know, I never studied for this in dad school. But the kids, they just like went to it. Like some kids are like cleaning up the gravesite. You know, the kids are like getting flowers and just picking flowers and making little wreaths. It just felt like really appropriate, you know, like, I mean, it was like the kids knew more what to do than I did in a way. I was like really glad that we weren't alone. Sometimes you'd think, oh, having kids at an event like this would be like a nuisance. For me, it like, you know, it's really just part of my being able to mourn and experience it was just watching them, you know, how they processed it.
Yeah, we walked up there and he's underneath a bunch of rocks. And it's not much to look at, you know, it's just a bunch of rocks. But by the end of being up there, after like 10 minutes or so, the grave was just like transformed. All the stuff was moved back, all the dead leaves and branches, and there was a bunch of flowers. Memory had gotten like this giant branch with tons of pretty flowers on it, which was really cool to see that we could do that we could transform it in our grief, you know, and remembrance. You know, as we approached it, I was like, man, this gravesite is kind of drab looking. So there might be a day where no one's gonna come visit this gravesite, which at first was sad to me, but I really find a lot of peace and assurance knowing that God will never forget him. Just like God will never forget me. Like, it's too big for me to have to like be the sole remembrance of him. But God already knows what he looks like. I don't even know really what he looks like. God already knows his personality. He knows all of that.
Yeah, you can see the botany and the geography and everything is kind of like moving towards forgetfulness. Like the rocks are a little more settled, and the weeds are creeping up, and the trees are coming, and you know, we made it look beautiful, but we have to understand that in 3 days, all the flowers are going to wither and it's going to look like crap again. It can feel guilty, like feeling like, oh, we need to not forget and we need to remember, but I don't feel that pressure with our baby, who we named John. We could see that he was a boy. You know, in a way, I feel like his memorial is more for us than it is for him. It was really kind of frustrating, like my patience for like shallow Christian bullshit was like kind of at an all-time low when he died. We know that people really meaning well like said this thing. They're like, oh, well, you'll see him in heaven, you'll see him in heaven, he's in heaven, he's with grandma eating ice cream, whatever. And like, maybe some people believe that, maybe some people have like the theology to back that up. I don't see that in the Bible. I don't know where he is, like, but I don't need to know. Like for me, like my peace of mind doesn't come from a place. It's like a giant golden mansion in the sky where people are eating ice cream. It comes from a person. And I do believe God is good. And I believe that God cares about John more than we do. And if that's actually true, that's more important to me than some shallow, I don't want to say shallow like it, but I don't even know if it's true. It just seems like this like almost mantra that people are like, oh, well, he's in heaven. Oh, he's in heaven. Oh, we've heard from so many people. And it's like, you know, what does that even mean? But it is a time to reflect on God's goodness. I actually was more struck by that yesterday than ever before. And there was just times where I think, I don't know, I was in tears. I don't know if other people were. I was thinking, like, was this our fault? Like, should we not have had more kids after this? And this is what I realized yesterday is John changed our life. We had him for 5 months, and he wasn't even born yet. And this is how powerful kids are, and God's using to use children as a blessing. You know, did we have an impact on him? I don't think so. He never experienced life outside the womb. He dropped like a bombshell into our family. I mean, I was coked out on work, just addicted, working 60-hour weeks. I mean, it's why we moved here in a way. It was for this internet startup business that was wildly successful at the time. I didn't have time for hardly anyone or anything with my kids. When he died, it changed everything for our family. I mean, it was like our whole life as we know was like, and it was like, whoa, what's important? Nothing that I thought was important seemed important anymore with work or money. Everything I was chasing, investing my life into. I don't know, like I've heard people say like, oh, I just want a healthy kid. You know, that's all I care about. When we found out John might not have a heartbeat, we just wanted a kid. I didn't even care if he was healthy. I didn't care if his brain was deformed. We were just like, if he's just alive, that would have been enough for us. I mean, that was a perspective shift too. Because we thought we like deserve healthy kids. It's like, you know, life is just such a miracle in and of itself. It doesn't need to be perfect. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I mean, I would never choose death, but the benefits for us, like, it's so weird to think about it that way. It's so weird the story has a happy ending, and our ability to love him was cut short. We can't do much for him anymore. I don't even, when we go back to the grave, it's not for him. You know, I don't think he cares anymore, wherever he is. But it's good for us. It's still good for our family.
Yeah.
I am really thankful that we do have a place we can go, and I know not everyone is that fortunate. You know, during that 3 weeks, I built a casket, and we found a place that has a view of the Ohio River that we thought was like would be safe and that would provide a place for our family to worship in future years, and I'm really glad that we have that. I've read stories of in hospitals they like take the body away where you can't even see it and you can't even like process it. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thank you.